Most people live in permanent financial terror, not because they lack money, but because they have no authority over their own minds. You are likely spending your most valuable asset, your mental sovereignty, on terrain you cannot move. It is the most expensive mistake you're making today, and it's draining your wealth faster than inflation or taxes ever could. Today, we use the scalpel of Epictetus to cut away the invisible chains of the modern millionaire and reclaim your governing faculty. These are the 7 Stoic principles to becoming financially unshakable. The most sophisticated money philosophy ever documented wasn't written by a hedge fund manager. It wasn't published by a Wall Street insider. It came from a slave, a man who owned nothing, controlled nothing, whose body was legally the property of another human being. His name was Epictetus, and in the slave quarters of Nero's Rome, surrounded by the wealthiest people on earth, he watched something that changed everything. He watched millionaires self-destruct, not from poverty, but from the inside. Senators paralyzed by the fear of loss. Generals emotionally enslaved to the opinion of one man. From that front row seat, Epictetus built a financial philosophy so precise that Roman emperors studied it to stay sane. One principle sat at the foundation. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Modern culture gives you the same instruction: earn more, spend more, signal more. But then something happens. The upgraded apartment becomes the baseline. The salary that once felt like freedom becomes the floor you're terrified of falling through. Researchers call people caught in this trap Henrys, high earners, not rich yet. 6-figure incomes, but a net worth that never grows, because every raise is absorbed into a more expensive version of the same anxiety. Epictetus didn't teach people how to get more. He taught them how to want correctly. That single distinction is the entire gap between a millionaire who is free and a millionaire who is still in chains. Before we go deeper, if this has touched something real in you, hit the like button right now. It tells me you're ready. Then, type this in the comments: I build wealth from the inside out. Subscribe, because what we're building here isn't motivation. It's a systematic, battle-tested framework for genuine freedom. Don't skip ahead. The principle that hits you hardest might be number 7. Let's go. Principle 1, the dichotomy that sets you free. The single biggest drain on your wealth isn't taxes, inflation, or your spending habits. It's the mental energy you're wasting on things you can't control. Most people structure their entire financial life around outcomes they have no authority over. The market, the economy, their employers' decisions, other people's opinions of their success. And because they cannot control these things, but desperately need them to go a certain way, they live in permanent financial terror, spending to numb it, overworking to outrun it, acquiring to silence it. Epictetus, the man who spent his youth as legal property in Nero's Rome, physically tortured by his owner, who went on to build one of the most influential philosophical schools in the ancient world, taught this as the absolute foundation of everything. Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. That sentence is not a comfort, it is a scalpel. What is up to you? Your savings rate, your skills, your response to setbacks, your integrity, your capacity to think clearly under pressure. What is not up to you? Whether the market rises this quarter, whether your employer recognizes your contribution, whether the economy cooperates with your timeline. When you pour energy into the second category, which most people do almost exclusively, you exhaust yourself on terrain you cannot move. Redirect that same energy into the first category, and everything changes. Decisions improve, clarity sharpens, actions become precise instead of frantic. The Stoics called this the hegemonicon, the governing faculty. Your only truly unlosable asset. Practice this tonight. Before you check your investments or read financial news, write 2 lists. Left column, everything financial genuinely within your control. Right column, everything you're spending emotional energy on that you cannot control. Then make one decision. Withdraw your attention from the right column, just for today. Every day you practice this, your judgment compounds. And judgment, not strategy, is what actually determines financial outcomes. Drop this in the comments. I spend my energy only on what I can control, and I release everything else. Principle 2. The invisible chains of the millionaire. Here's the paradox Epictetus observed with his own eyes, and that modern psychology has now confirmed with data. The millionaire is often less free than the person with nothing. Not financially, psychologically, in the ways that actually determine the quality of a human life. Most people assume wealth automatically produces freedom, that once you hit the number, the portfolio target, the passive income threshold, the anxiety stops, the fear dissolves. But what actually happens is far more uncomfortable. The anxiety doesn't disappear. It relocates. It moves from the fear of not having enough to the terror of losing what you've built. The chains don't come off. They get heavier. And because they're made of gold, nobody believes you when you say they hurt. Epictetus taught this directly, not from theory, but from watching Rome's elite destroy themselves in real time. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. But underneath that was a more confrontational truth. Anyone who possesses the authority to grant or deny what you desire becomes your master. Full stop. If your security lives inside a stock portfolio, the market is your master. If your identity is tied to a corporate title, your employer is your master. If your peace depends on what people think of your success, public opinion is your master. A man with 100 masters, Epictetus argued, is more enslaved than a man in chains. At least the man in chains knows he isn't free. He watched Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Roman history, a Stoic philosopher, slowly compromise every principle he taught to protect his fortune from Nero. The man who wrote the most beautiful words about freedom in the ancient world spent his final years philosophically indistinguishable from the tyrant he served. The chains Epictetus feared most were never made of iron. They were made of attachment. Practice this month. Set aside one day to live voluntarily below your means. Eat simply. Wear basic clothing. Remove every comfort you consider non-negotiable. Then sit with the exact question Epictetus prescribed. Is this the condition I feared? What you'll discover is that the floor you're terrified of is far more livable than the fear of it. And the moment you know that, not intellectually, but in your body, the market loses its power over your nervous system. You cannot be financially coerced by the loss of something you've already proven you can survive without. That isn't poverty. That is sovereignty. Once you realize that wealth can be a cage, you have to change how you actually interact with the things you want. This brings us to the banquet table. Principle 3. The banquet table of wealth. The problem is not that you want things. The problem is how you want them. Most people sit at the banquet table of life in one of 2 equally destructive postures, either lunging forward, grabbing desperately at every dish, terrified it will disappear, or sitting back in resentment, watching what others are served, consumed by comparison, unable to taste what's already on their own plate. Both postures produce the same result: misery at a table full of food. In the Enchiridion, the compact manual compiled from Epictetus's lectures, he wrote one of the most quietly revolutionary passages in the history of financial psychology. remember that you must behave as at a banquet. When the dish is handed to you, put out your hand and take a moderate helping. When it passes by you, do not stop it. If it has not reached you, do not stretch your desire towards it, but wait till it reaches you. That is an entire wealth management philosophy in 4 sentences. Reach when it arrives. Release when it passes. Wait without grasping when it hasn't come yet. And take a moderate helping, not everything on the dish. Behavioral economists call the opposite of this choice overload. When humans face an abundance of options, luxury brands, premium subscriptions, lifestyle upgrades, the cognitive stress doesn't produce satisfaction. It produces decision fatigue, lingering, regret, and persistent anxiety that a better choice was missed. More options, less peace, higher spending, lower satisfaction. The Stoics called the correct posture detached stewardship. Money is not an identity to defend or a trophy to display. It is a dish at a banquet, temporarily in your care, to be received with gratitude, used with wisdom, and released without grief. Practice this week. Audit every recurring expense and ask one question. Did I consciously choose this? Or did it arrive on my plate and I forgot to put it back? For everything you didn't consciously choose, make a decision. Not from deprivation, from sovereignty. Every unconscious expense is a portion of your freedom spent without noticing. Drop this in the comments. I receive with gratitude. I release without grief, and I never grasp what is not yet mine. Principle 4. The compounding of character. Here's what the entire financial industry will never tell you, because if they did, you might stop buying their products. Your character compounds faster than your capital, and it never crashes. Every serious wealth conversation centers on the same variables: returns, risk tolerance, asset allocation, time in the market. These things matter, but they are all downstream of something nobody puts in a spreadsheet: the emotional and moral stability of the person executing the strategy. Here's what actually happens during a market correction. 2 investors, identical portfolios, identical time horizons. One has spent years building the discipline to act from principle rather than panic. The other has spent those same years building a lifestyle that requires the portfolio to perform for life to feel okay. When the correction hits, and it always hits, one makes a rational decision. The other makes an expensive one. Same market, completely different outcomes, not because of strategy, because of character. Epictetus outlined 3 progressive disciplines he considered the non-negotiable foundation of genuine prosperity. The discipline of desire, training your impulses to want only what is within your control and aligned with your actual values. Without this, every financial strategy gets hijacked by emotional volatility you never addressed. The discipline of action, executing your financial duties with absolute integrity, regardless of what the culture rewards this season. Consistent virtuous action, Epictetus argued, is the only investment that carries 0 risk of loss. The discipline of assent, refusing to be seduced by false impressions. The headline saying, "The sky is falling." The neighbor's lifestyle saying you're behind. The cultural narrative saying your current level is never enough. He observed that most people fail catastrophically at the first 2, while obsessing over the 3rd. They intellectualize endlessly about the right strategy, while their desires and daily actions remain completely untrained. Knowledge without character is a map without legs. Wait, before we look at the strategy, we have to look at the man. Think about Warren Buffett, not the strategy, the person. A man who has lived in the same modest Omaha house since 1958, who has spent decades eliminating decisions that don't compound toward his core purpose. His famous quote, that he tap dances to work, isn't the description of a man who found the perfect stock. It's the description of a man who built the perfect internal relationship with his work, his money, and his enough. The strategy is available to anyone. The character that executes it for 70 years, that is the actual asset. Practice this week. Each evening, ask 3 questions and write the answers. What did I want today that was outside my control? And how much energy did I spend on it? What action did I take that was aligned with my financial values? And what wasn't? What financial belief did I accept today without questioning it? 30 days of honest answers will reveal more about your financial blind spots than any advisor, course, or book ever could. Drop this in the comments. My greatest financial asset is the person I am becoming every single day. Principle 5. The wealth of enough. Here's the most subversive idea in this entire video. Enough is not a number. It is a decision. And until you make that decision, consciously, deliberately, in advance, no number will ever feel like enough. Not the first million. Not the 5th. Not the 10th. Because the goalpost was never attached to a number. It was attached to a feeling designed by advertising, by social comparison, by the entire architecture of consumer culture, to remain permanently just out of reach. Most high earners spend their entire careers in sophisticated poverty. Not material poverty, psychological poverty. The chronic sensation that what they have is never quite sufficient. That they are perpetually one milestone away from the peace they've been working toward. Epictetus taught it bluntly. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. And Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Roman history, writing from inside immense personal fortune, made the economic argument explicitly. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. This wasn't abstract philosophy. This was a man who watched his own fortune become the instrument of his destruction. Seneca understood the wealth of enough not as an ideal, but as a survival necessity. And he learned it, tragically, too late. The Stoics called wealth a preferred indifferent, better to have it than not. But never, under any circumstances, the source of your well-being. A tool, a temporary loan from fate, to be used wisely and surrendered without grief when circumstances require. The Henry phenomenon proves this perfectly. Individuals whose income has crossed every threshold they once believed would deliver freedom, still running the same internal software of scarcity, still consuming every surplus before it can compound, still one lifestyle upgrade away from the peace they keep postponing. The problem was never the income, it was the absence of enough. Practice this week. Define your enough. In writing, with specificity. Ask, what does a genuinely good day look like? And what does it actually require financially? What am I spending on that genuinely contributes to my well-being? And what wouldn't I consciously choose if I stopped to think? What is my number? Not the cultural number, not the comparison number, at which I would feel genuinely secure? Then decide in advance what you'll do with everything above that number. Reinvestment, community, the people and causes that matter. Because the moment you define enough, surplus stops being a temptation and becomes a responsibility. And responsibility, unlike desire, has a direction. Drop this in the comments. I have decided what enough means for me. Everything above it is a gift I steward with intention. Principle 6. The premeditation of financial adversity. This will sound like the worst financial advice you've ever heard. To build genuine wealth, to become truly unshakable, you need to regularly, deliberately, and vividly Imagine losing everything. Not as a fear to suppress, as a practice. Most people do the exact opposite. They avoid worst-case thinking because it's uncomfortable. They build financial plans assuming relatively smooth conditions. They structure their emotional relationship with wealth around the hope that the bad things happen to someone else, or at least not yet. And then, when adversity arrives, and it always arrives, they are ambushed, not just financially, psychologically. Their nervous system has no preparation. Decision-making collapses under panic, and the choices made in that panicked state cause more damage than the adversity itself. Epictetus prescribed the antidote 2,000 years ago. Never say about anything, "I have lost it," but "I have returned it." Is your estate taken away? Well, and is not that likewise returned? He instructed his students to hold every possession, every investment, every asset, every advantage, as a traveler holds lodging for the night, with gratitude for its presence, without grief at its departure, because it was never permanently yours to begin with. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity, deliberate, disciplined imagination of loss, not to produce despair, but to produce the one thing despair cannot coexist with: preparation. When you've already vividly imagined the market correction, when you've sat with what it would feel like, what you would do, how you would adapt, the actual correction loses the power of shock. Your nervous system has rehearsed it. Your rational mind has contingency plans. Your identity has already survived it in simulation. A person who cannot be shocked by adversity cannot be controlled by the fear of it. The 2008 financial crisis didn't destroy most portfolios. The panic selling that followed destroyed most portfolios. The people who had rehearsed this scenario and decided in advance what they would do, came out the other side not just intact, but positioned for the recovery. They weren't smarter, they weren't luckier, they were psychologically prepared. Practice this month. Once a month, schedule one session. Treat it like a meeting with your most important advisor. Vividly imagine a plausible, specific adversity. Market drops 40%. You lose your primary income. A business venture fails completely. Sit with the discomfort fully. Then write, what would I actually do? What would I cut? What skills allow me to rebuild? What would remain no matter what? Then ask the question Epictetus considered most important. Is this the condition I feared? And can I survive it? Almost always, the honest answer is yes. And that yes, genuinely felt, not intellectually acknowledged, is worth more to your long-term financial health than any single investment decision you will ever make. Drop this in the comments. I have faced my worst fear and found my strength waiting on the other side. Principle 7. The freedom of virtuous ambition. This is where everything comes together. There are two kinds of ambition. From the outside, they look identical. Both produce effort. Both produce achievement. Both generate material success. Both get celebrated by the culture. But on the inside, in the quality of daily experience they produce, in the sustainability of the energy they require, in the destination they're actually moving toward, they couldn't be more different. The first kind is driven by lack, by the fear of not being enough, by the need for external validation to confirm an internal worth that never feels quite established. It wakes you up at 3 in the morning, not with excitement, but with dread. It turns every competitor into a threat, every setback into an indictment of your fundamental value as a human being. The second kind is driven by virtue, by genuine love of the work, by the desire to contribute something real, by a sense of purpose that exists independently of whether the market rewards it on any given day. Epictetus didn't just prefer the second kind. He argued the first kind isn't ambition at all. It is sophisticated slavery wearing ambition's clothing. He stated the governing principle plainly. Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life. This is not passivity. This is the operating system of a person who has separated their identity so completely from their outcomes that they can pursue excellence with total commitment and remain entirely unbroken by the result. That separation between committed effort and attached outcome is the precise definition of virtuous ambition. The rarest, most powerful, most liberating financial posture a human being can occupy. He also identified the one rule governing every legitimate path to prosperity. The person of genuine integrity must never sacrifice virtue for financial gain. Not once. Not under pressure. Not when the compromise seems small enough to be invisible. Because he had watched what happened to people who made that trade. Seneca, brilliant, philosophically sophisticated, made one small compromise after another to protect his fortune from Nero, until the compromises were no longer small, until the man who wrote the most beautiful words about freedom in the ancient world was philosophically indistinguishable from the tyrant he served. Virtuous ambition is not a ceiling on your success. It is the foundation that makes success sustainable, meaningful, and genuinely yours. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, owner of its most profitable brick factories, inheritor of immense generational wealth, chose radical simplicity, not because he was required to, because he had decided, deliberately and in advance, that his identity was not his empire. His wealth was a duty, not a reward. His ambition was directed entirely toward the quality of his governance, not the expansion of his personal fortune. He tap danced to work, not because the work was easy, because the ambition driving it was free. Practice every morning this week. Before you open your email, before you check your portfolio, ask one question. Write the answer. Mean it. Today, am I building towards something or running away from something? Building towards something produces virtuous ambition. Running away from something produces the first kind, the kind that looks like drive from the outside and feels like fear from the inside. When you catch yourself running, don't judge it. Simply return. Come back to your values. Come back to your enough. Come back to the dichotomy. Come back to the banquet table. Come back to the person you decided to become when you were being honest with yourself. The Stoics called this returning to the discipline, not failing. Returning, because the practice is not the absence of drift, it is the consistency of return. Every return compounds, every single one. Drop this in the comments. I build with purpose, I serve with integrity, and I measure my wealth by the freedom it creates, not the status it signals. I want you to rate this script what you've been building toward. The financial freedom, the genuine peace, the life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside, is already in motion. Not because you forced it, not because you hustled hard enough or wanted it desperately enough, because in the time you spent here today, you began to become the kind of person it can find. That is the thing Epictetus knew that most millionaires learn too late. The work was never primarily out there, in the markets, in the opportunities, in the accumulation of assets and advantages and external validations. The work was always in here, in the quality of your desires, in the integrity of your daily decisions, in the slow, unglamorous, extraordinarily powerful compounding of character over time. A slave taught the emperors of Rome how to be free. He owned nothing, controlled nothing external, and left behind a philosophy so unbreakable that 2,000 years later, it remains the most sophisticated wealth management framework ever conceived, because it is the only one that begins where all real wealth actually begins, inside you. Your only job now is to return. Every time you drift, and you will drift, because we all do, return to the discipline. Return to the dichotomy. Return to your enough. Return to the banquet table. Return to the question of whether you are building towards something or running away from something. Every return compounds, every single one. To seal everything you've received today, to move it from something you heard into something you've decided. Leave this in the comments right now. Say it with the full weight of what you now understand. I release what does not serve me. I build what cannot be taken. I am already free. Say it like you mean it, because you do. And if someone in your life is sitting right now at the top of everything they worked for, wondering why it still doesn't feel like enough, share this video with them. Not as advice, as a gift. The gift Epictetus spent his entire life trying to give to anyone willing to receive it. Subscribe to Stoic Daily Channel, because this is not a destination. It is a practice. And we walk it together, one principle at a time, one decision at a time, one return at a time. Until next time, stay stoic, stay sovereign, and remember that the wealthiest version of you is not the one with the largest portfolio. It is the one with the fewest chains.